Vasudevaya. Everyone together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati nashriki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashatare Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gotu Se Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class as part of Bhagavad Life program. We are the third canto and we're going to start with chapter number 32. Just to give a little background, what was discussed in chapter number 31. We are almost at the conclusion of third canto. Sankhya Yoga as established by Lord Kapil Dev, that is under discussion. The conclusion of that. So in the 31st chapter, Samsara was continued as Mother Devati had asked. And in 31st chapter, the discussion was about Jiva, or particularly Kapila Dev's instruction to a living entity, wherein the discussion was about how Jiva, the science of embryology was briefly discussed. That's not the main subject of Bhagavatam, as we discussed before. Therefore, a little hint is given, which itself is difficult to be decoded or maybe to be understood by the modern scientists because they still don't have instruments to really look into those much details. Then it was described how a living entity who have had a devotional background begins to offer prayers. He finds himself back again in the material world and the dark space. As it says, Aswaranamate loka andhena tamasavrataha. For example, imagine you open your eyes, it's complete pitch dark. There's no sun globe inside or sun planet. How would the living entity find? So like that is described, and he begins to offer prayers. He remembers what prayers he used to offer before. And he prays to the Lord ultimately, please don't allow me to come outside. Why would Jiva says when he's surrounded with stool, mucus, urine, and so much filthy stuff that the body produces, why would Jiva say, please don't make me come out. Let me stay here. Anyone remembers? Due to pain. Due to pain. He doesn't remember the pain. He's under pain. He doesn't know what pain he's going to experience. Yes? Yeah. The reason is he knows this is not the first time he's taking birth. He knows very well because he has a past life memory. He remember the moment he takes birth, the Lord's Mahamaya Shakti will overtake and he will be put under illusion where he'll forget everything. And then Prabhupada writes, so a living entity in this world has a problem of forgetfulness. He continues to forget. And it's not that when the child is born, even then he forgets. Even we who are grown up, we keep on forgetting. We hear, we forget. We read, we forget. And then Prabhupada gave a solution how to overcome this forgetfulness so that we don't forget Lord. What is the solution? Always keep in the association of devotees so that we don't forget. We are reminded again and again. Like that. And then after that, what happens after eventually the Jiva is born? Then his journey of life was described, how he goes through struggle, how he, first of all, when he's born, he goes through so much tremendous pain. He cannot speak, he cannot express. Even he is going through suffering, he can only cry, but he cannot tell what to do about the suffering. And that whole suffering situation has been described until death. Now, when he grows up and he ends up into bad association, and the two kinds of bad association were described by Kapil Dev. Anyone remembers what are the two bad association described? And among the two, one is more bad, severely bad. What is a bad association for a Jivatma? Association on devotee. What is a bad association for Jivatma? Anyone online remembers? I
Hare
believe we
Krishna.
had a talk last week only, isn't it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mother Midhavani is trying to say something. I can't hear any sound. People, the sound will come. Yes, somebody's saying online. Now they can try. Maybe audible. Yes, Mother Midhavani, go ahead.
So association with women and
Um,
association with those who are attached to women. Or
Yeah, so I would put it this way, association of opposite gender, precisely, and not to sound one-sided. And more worse than that is association of one who keeps on talking about the opposite gender. Why that association is dangerous? Jaisa sang vaisa rang, sanga sanjayate. If you keep on hearing Shravanam, the Leelas of other Matajis, or other gender, then you will get attracted. So that's the point. All right, so that was talked about. And then finally, 43rd to 48 verses was discussion on understanding birth and death. चलो भाई इतना सब कुछ तो हो गया. But karma has not been discussed. Bad association has been discussed. But in Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 subject matter. Ishvara, Jiva, Kal, Karma, Prakriti. Karma is inseparable part of living entity as long as he is in this world. The moment he is in this world, the karma kicks in. Anything he thinks, does, everything has his own karmic reactions. So now, chapter number 32 talks about entanglement in fruitive activities, where pravritti karma and nivritti karma will be talked about by Lord Kapil Dev. We'll begin to talk about sakam karma, which means, doing it for oneself and what's the destination. Then Kapil Dev in this chapter will talk about the yogis who perform karma just for the sake of liberation. So, what is their trajectory, which has been discussed in the second canto, chapter number 2, about the two different paths. One is of the bhakti, second is of the yogis who go gradually. You see that photo, classic photo in that topmost yogi book, and you see 8 chakra, and then from the Muladhara chakra, from something is breaking and going. So that's the path described in second canto, second chapter. So that's briefly discussed by Kapil Dev here also, and talks about how they go to the how they go via the sun planet, and ultimately reach the Brahma's planet, and then they stay in Brahma Loka. ब्रह्मन भ्रमण कर रहे थे ना आजीवन, तो पहुंच गए वहां पहुंचने से पहले पहले ब्रह्मा लोक पे रोका क्या उनको. They reach up to Brahma's planet and then they stay there. Now these are not the people who have devotion. And they're trying to attain liberation by their endeavors. Then they go to Brahma's planet, they stay there, and they stay there until the time of Brahma's life. And then when Brahma's creations end, then they merge into the body of Brahma. And then Brahma merges into the body of Mahavishnu, along with all the whole universe, everything goes on. And then Brahmaji, if he, in case he had been a pure devotee, he goes back to Godhead. But his follower remains back in the body of Mahavishnu. And then Kapil Dev says, well, why Brahma cannot take his follower, back to Godhead? Because mukti can only be avoided by Vishnu. And because they have not developed bhakti or cultivated bhakti, therefore, so then Kapil Dev in this chapter draws a conclusion. He says, well, then why don't you just cultivate bhakti? Just like, what is that? Atha Pumbar Duja Shreshta, Varnashrama Vibhagashaha, Dharmasya Svanusasasya Samshuddhi Haritoshnam. Your point of performing Varnashrama Dharma is good as long as you're able to remember or you're able to please Krishna. Samshuddhi Haritoshnam. However, you may practice your dharmasya svanisasya na utpadya yati ratim. You may perform your varnashram dharma very properly, but by that, if in case na utpadya yadi ratim, if attraction for Lord Krishna or Hari has not developed, shama eva hi kevalam. That point which is mentioned in the first canto, second chapter, is again more or less elaborated here. However, there is a third angle to it from which I would like to begin. I would like to quote a verse from the 11th canto. This is a question which is often asked. What about us? We are not doing sakam karma. We are practicing bhakti yoga. In that bhakti yoga also, we can say we are at the stage of karma yoga. Of course, it's part of bhakti yoga, no doubt about it. But we are at the stage of karma yoga because we are performing actions. We are performing our duties. We cannot give up those things and Shravanam Kirtanam, engage ourselves fully in Shravanam Kirtanam. So what is for us? So 11th canto, it is 20th chapter, verse number 9, if you can project that. The beautiful verse, Tavat Karamani Kurvati Na Nirvidyeta Yavataha Mat Katha Shavanaduva Shraddha Yavan Jayate. Mat Katha Shavanaduva Shraddha Yavan Jayate. There's a beautiful verse. It says, you will be forced to continue performing karma. Tatha karmani kurvati. Na nirvidyete yavata. Na nirvidyete, until you are satiated. Unless you are completely done with it. Mat katha shavanaduva shraddha yavatna jayate. Until that taste, यहाँ पे श्रद्धा is not faith, is described as taste. Unless the taste in hearing and chanting develops, so much so that we are satiated and content with hearing and chanting, until that time we cannot give up karma. So many times devotees ask this question, what about us? What about us? What do we do? So we have to continue performing actions. So here it is mentioned, this particular verse, you cannot give it up. If you give it up artificially, you will be again compelled to take up action. Now, just to extend this idea, is it like those who join brahmachari ashram, they're completely satiated? Not sure about satiated, but frustrated for sure. They're definitely frustrated with the material life. That's the reason they join, not about satiated. So what happens in brahmachari life? In brahmachari life, therefore, they're engaged in all kind of activities. All kind of activity means it's not that they're given a platform to do Shravanam and Kirtanam whole day. Because if they do Shravanam Kirtanam, then very soon they will become satiated. Then they will look for something else, there is a bandwidth for it. So yes, they will have a long extended hours of Shravanam as well as opportunity for Kirtanam. They can have whole Mangalati, Guru Puja, then Rajbhogati, then Guru Gaurati, that's extended Kirtanam. And then Kirtanam also means preaching. They can speak, they have all the time for it. Then they can have Bhagavatam class, they have Brahmacharya class, they have extended Shravanam. But along with that, they're also engaged in all different kind of activities, running the temple, maintaining the temple, management, fundraising, book distribution, getting it like that. We all are engaged and we have to be engaged. We should not prematurely. So therefore it is said, all of you would have heard PDS, pure devotional syndrome. Sometimes you would develop in the initial stages. Why do anything? Let me just sit and hear. Katha is so delicious, so nectarian. And maybe chant also. I don't know how much I've had experience with chanting being nectarian. But how many of you had an experience with katha being nectarian? Bas sunte hi raho. Bas sunte raho. Particularly if there is some nice festival is going on and there are senior devotees, Prabhupada disciples, they're sharing about Prabhupada's life. And that ecosystem is created like that. But nonetheless, this verse says we have to perform our duty. And therefore, it is said, while you do so, according to sadhana bhakti, follow the principle of sadhana bhakti, have your morning program, have your chanting, have your reading and hearing and services. All right. So that's the more or less subject matter of this chapter. We can take a look verse-wise what to do about it. Let's take a look at it. Text number 1. Kapilavacha atho yograhomedhiyan dharman eva vasangrahi kamam artham cha dharmahan swan dogdi bhuya pipartitan. The personality God it says, the person who lives in the central house alive derives material benefits by performing religious rituals and thereby he fulfills his desire for economic development and sense gratification. Dharma, artha, kama. And again, he acts the same way. Papa talks about two kind of householders. We know by now, Grahamedi and Grahastha. So, Grahamedi probably we know. The objective of Grahamedi is sense gratification. Objective of Grahastha is self-realization. Next paragraph, Papa writes, a Grahastha is a person who lives with family, wife, children, later, but has no attachment for them. He prefers to live in a family life rather than as a mendicant or sannyasi, but his chief aim is to achieve self-realization or come to the standard of Krishna consciousness. And therefore, if you look at the customs around Grahastha life is organized in that way. There are 5 kind of yagyas which are prescribed. When you read 10th canto, when Narad Muni visits Dwarka, that time he sees, he visits different palaces of Krishna and he sees Krishna doing different things. One of the things he saw Krishna doing was performing this 5 kind of yajna, sacrifices. And not only that, he saw Krishna worshipping devtas also. And after that, Narada said, enough is enough. I'm going back now. He was really upset. Why Krishna has to worship devtas? Anyways, that's a side point. So, Krishna had to explain Narad Muni. Narad Muni was bewildered. Why Krishna is doing all this thing? And then Krishna said, actually not Krishna, that Acharya is explained. Vishnu Thakur quotes in that context, Yad yad acharati shrestha tattadeva tarojanaha. For setting a right example, Lord have to do this. Grahastha life. That particular chapter, I would say, is an ideal reading for Grahastha, just to get an idea what Lord Krishna would do, how would he live his life. That particular, when Narad Muni visits Dwarka, particularly when he goes to meet Lord Shri Krishna, how Krishna receives Narad Muni. Very interesting thing happens in that chapter. Unlike when Narad Muni visits Krishna in Vrindavan. So Narad Muni at the end of the whole visit, he complains to Krishna. He says, Lord, I'm leaving now. And Lord understood, Narad Muni is a little upset and is feeling awkward. Then Krishna himself says, Narad Muni, I understand your awkwardness and discomfort here, but please understand, when you visited me at Vrindavan, I was a Bal Gopal or I was a Gopal, Gopal form, I was not in the Grahastha ashram. But however, when you visited him in Dwarka, I am a Grahastha. And when a sannyasi or a sadhu comes to the house of Grahastha, he has to welcome a sadhu in a certain way. And what happened in Dwarka when Narad Muni went to meet Krishna, Krishna had done his, Paduka Abhishek, as you say. And then he took that Abhishek. Wo to chalo ek cheez hai. Then Krishna drank that water and sprinkled that water on his head. And he said, by this, pure water, I'll get purified. And Narad Muni was saying, how can this happen, So then Krishna had to explain, Narad Muni, because when he came to Vrindavan, I was a Gwala. That was not my custom. But now here we come. So point here, the Acharya says that Krishna shows us by his example to set how everyone has to live. Nonetheless, I don't think so any sadhu will accept that today. You don't have to go to that extent. But in terms of how to live life, that is mentioned there, Lord Shri Krishna. Even in the first canto, you will see when Lord Shri Krishna was returning back to Dwarka, then in the evening, he halted and he performed evening duties. Sandhya, Gayatri Vandan and all that. and he did give charity to the Brahmanas like that. He did, and there also Prabhupada mentioned the term, but why Krishna have to do like this? To set an example how a grahastha life is like that. So, anyways, text number 2. Perform worship, but there was true bhakti. Sachapi bhagavad dharmat kama mudha pran mukha yajate kratubhe devan pitram sha shraddhayan vitaha. Such persons are ever bereft to devotional service due to being too attached to sense gratification. Therefore, although they perform various kinds of sacrifices, take great vows to satisfy the devatas, forefathers, they are not interested in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. So these are the 5 kind of yagyas that the grahasthas have to perform on a daily basis to satisfy the forefathers, devatas, other living entities, etc. However, Prabhupada mentions, but those who have taken to Krishna consciousness, they have to perform only one yajna. What is that? The essence of all yajna? Sankirtan yajna. So that nullifies the need for other yajnas like that. Text number 3. So what happens to these people who are performing sakam karma because they're living religiously? They're following Vedic rituals or Vedic, sakam karma kind of a thing. So what happens? What is their gati? So they go to the moon planet. So Nivritti karma, those who perform, they go to sun planets. Text number 3. Such materialistic person attracted by sense gratification and devoted to the forefathers and devatas can be elevated to the moon, where they can drink an extract of the soma plant. They again return to this planet. Soma juice seems to be very famous, huh? But thank God nobody have created a soma brand juice until now. Probably they have not read Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, it looks like in Vedic culture, soma juice is very famous. Where did you write about soma juice before? So much so in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions. And Bhagavad Gita also Krishna mentions soma juice. And when Krishna mentions soma juice, all those piyakkad of this world, they think Krishna is talking about soma juice. So many times question are asked to me, क्या प्रभु जी मून प्लैनेट पे जाके हमें सोमा जूस पीना है तो हम यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं कंटिन्यू कर सकते अपना सोमा जूस मैंने कहा वो तुम्हारा सोमा जूस नहीं है everyone understand from their perspective now. All right. So moon planet is a heavenly planet. Prabhupada mentioned the purport. That's the point. So the sakam karmis, karma kind of followers, which means if they have not committed any apradhas or mistakes in their sakam karma or karma kind of rituals, then they go to elevated to moon planet. They spend their vacation and then they come back. Vacation time, right? Limited time, and they have to come back. That's the point. Text number 4. Even if not, all planets are destroyed. That's what Kapila says. What's the point of it? Text number 5. Perform swadharma. Ye swadharma na duhanti dhira kamata hetave nisanga nyasta karmana prashantaha shuddha chetasaha. Those who are intelligent are of purified consciousness, completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness, free from the mores of material nature. They do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they're situated in their own occupation duty, they act what is expected to act. Now, this is a very important discussion from here. I started our discussion from the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse number 9. Again, it was about conditionings. We are conditioned to act. We are conditioned to act according to the mores of material nature, and also we are conditioned according to our past karmic actions. So that creates a certain mindset, and it's very difficult to give it up. It's not so easy to give it up. So here the subject matter is mentioned. Free, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they're situated in their own occupation duties, they act, one is expected to act. Just to give a little idea about the subject matter, because this always gets complicated. What's in for me is often asked after this. Particularly when we read scriptures and we understand what is the standard of bhakti. Just like, again, going back to Ramananda Rai's conversation with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the first verdict of Ramananda Rai, which had an approval of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is the ultimate goal of life? Was not sadharma, was not karma arpanam, was not giving up karma, was not jnana mishra bhakti, brahmabhuta prasanatma. When he said, Jnane prayasam udapasinam daiva jivanti sanmukaritam. Jivanti sanmukaritam. What is that? Jivanti sanmukaritam. जीवन्ति जीवन्ति सन्मुखरितां भवदीयवातां स्थाने स्थिता श्रुतिकथां तनुवान् मनोभिः ये प्रयाशुजितजीतो अपि यस्य तास्त्रलोक्यां. The only way to conquer one who is unconquerable, Ajita, is only one thing. Give up this jnane prayas or the pasya. Give up all this effort. The only way to conquer the unconquerable is sthane sita shrutigatam tanuman vanobhir. So be situated in your place and shrutigatam. Hear about the Lord. And that had the first approval of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he was not satisfied, he said to speak further, but he said, okay, that's okay. That makes sense now. So here Prabhupada explains this is a stage of beginning of devotional life. Devotional life begins with Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnuhu. So the question may arise many times, question arises also can arise, then why don't I give up everything and then just engage in Shravanam Kirtanam if that's what the platform of bhakti is? Now this question is similarly almost similar to what Arjuna said. Why don't I give up this war? Why do I need to engage in this ghastly warfare if the ultimate goal of life is something else? What will I gain after attaining the kingdom which is perishable? Let me go to the forest. And he was particularly adamant after when Krishna spoke the 8th chapter, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tayatanti Kalevaram. Whatever you remember at the end of life, you're investing so much energy in fight. You're fighting means you have to have certain amount of animosity within your mind, first of all, right? If you want to kill somebody, can you just kill without your mind having that hatred for that person? Or that have mind being convinced about to kill that person? Yes or no? You can't kill that person. So which means how much his mind has to be perturbed by thinking about all the injustices that Duryodhana and party have done to them and Draupadi. When you're going to invest so much mental thought, Arjuna was perturbed. Yamam Vapit Smaran Bhavam, there's all possibility I'll remember him at the end of life because I'm investing so much energy. And then Krishna says, Tasma Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyaja. Continue performing your duty. However, remember, Mam Anusmara Yudhya perform. So why Krishna indicates the path of karma rather than giving up karma? However, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, Thane Sita Shrutigatam Tanuvan Manobhir. Wherever you are, what do? Take up to the process of hearing and chanting. However, Krishna says, take up the path of karma. Don't quit the path of karma. But what you can do? Karma arpanam. Yat karosi, yad asnasi, yat johosi, dadasi yat. So Krishna discourages the path of giving up karma, but he encourages the path of karma arpanam, giving up the results in the service of the Lord. The logic behind it is simple. Whatever we do, we cannot, first of all, at our level of spiritual practice, we cannot be freed from the influences of modes of material nature. And the modes of material nature would impel us, would force us to act into karma or perform karmic activities. So therefore, the whole path that Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita is a gradual development, which is safe. Arjuna, don't take the path of sannyas quickly because that's very dangerous. 18th chapter. If you do so, if you get distracted, you have all the chances to get distracted. You will not be of this world nor of that world. You will not be able to enjoy life here. There's no question of next life. But go for gradual development, because that way it's safer. At your level, perform what is recommended for your level. And what do you know? How do you know what is recommended for you? Recommended, not chosen. Who does recommendation? Not you. You don't recommend for yourself. It's recommended by the higher authorities. So that's how Krishna says, what is that? Tad vidhi pranipatena parivar. So take shelter of Guru and then follow the path like that. Because in the 4th chapter, why Krishna spoke about tad vidhi pranipatena? Anyone knows? Why did Krishna spoke about tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya uttikshanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshana? Where does the subject matter comes from Guru there? Suddenly. The only reason, anyone knows online? We discussed this point in Bhagavad Gita. Why did Krishna spoke about this verse? Why did this suddenly verse come? What is 4th chapter title? Transcendental knowledge. In the first 10 verses, Krishna gives a pep talk about him, why he appears, the difference between me and Jivatma, and the purpose of birth. One who knows about my divinity, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Eva Yoviti Tatvata, he goes back home, back to Godhead. Then Krishna talks about Ye Tamam Prapadante, Vitarag Bhaya Krodha. That's a discussion going on. The discussion is on transcendental knowledge. Then second part of the transcendental knowledge is from 4.12 onward. The consequence of transcendental knowledge is you get free from karmic reactions. And then for the first time, karma, akarma, vikarma is discussed up to 20th, 22, 21st, 22nd verse. Now the flow is going on that. I don't want to say what happened next, then you'll understand. Why did Tadvidi Pranipatena suddenly came? Take shelter, O Guru. Why that thing had to come? Anyone remembers Neeraj Prabhu? Yes, let's give it a try. That's a difficult subject matter. You need careful study of Bhagavad Gita for that.
So Krishna told various ways of that self-realization in the chapter, and at the end.
No, not like that. Not various ways of self-realization. So Krishna says, so transcendental knowledge sets you free from karmic reaction. It sets you free from misconceptions. It gives you shelter of the Lord, and it eradicates your karmic account. Then the question comes, how do I cultivate transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge is not a subject matter of memorizing things. It's a transcendental knowledge. It needs to be revealed from within. It's not you can memorize. Therefore, tomorrow we are starting our Srimad Bhagavatam study, right? Bhakti Vaibhav. So, back and forth discussion going on, Puji. Many devotees want to join, but they are finding it a little difficult to really commit to do the course, what to do. I said then if you have them, then the whole forum will become diluted. Then everyone would want to go to that because they'll see the others are also joining the course. They're getting a chance to read and hear, but they don't have to solve or attempt exam. And anyways, we are lazy in doing that. I'm also lazy doing that, frankly speaking. So then we'll get discouraged seeing that others are allowed. So then I said, well, that cannot happen that way. So let's do one thing. Let's have a program in such a way it becomes conducive for those who are going for serious study in terms of they're going to write exams, give presentation, memorize shloka. Let's organize a program in such a way that becomes conducive for them. So how to make it conducive? I said everyone else who is joining the program, who's not joining for certificate, they'll have to be engaged in seva. And that whole idea of seva is, so those who are coming, it becomes conducive for them. And then they have a difference. So others will do seva, and what's not, they will do seva while doing the class, they will attend the program, but there is a distinction now, right? The one group is doing seva, so like, they may help in prasadam serving, they may help in preparing juice, I'll have a meeting with all the devotees, they'll have the whole hall set up, hall wind up, class set up, class, different services. I may ask them to, help me with organizing the online thing in terms of help create quiz or different assessment types, something like that. And those who are already going for the serious study, they continue with their study. They'll not get into the organization part. I said when we do that, because they taking up serious study, they memorizing shloka, these devotees may not be able to do it because they're finding it difficult to do that. So the study is also seva, which they are not doing. Of course, they're doing Shravanam, but that's only once in a week. But they has to have some more seva. So therefore, they will be helping in organizing the program. So unless that seva thing is there, Shushrushya Shraddhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. So I was telling our organizer, I said, you'll see what's going to happen. After a while, people will disappear. It's not so easy to sit for 3 hours. It's not so easy. Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, unless we develop that taste, it is impossible to continue. You will come, and particularly for certain sections, just like first canto, first 3 chapters are all technical. First chapter is technical. उसमें सबका बाप है, स्टार्टिंग के 2 श्लोका, उसमें उन दोनों का बाप है पहला श्लोका. उसको समझने में तुम्हारे सिर के बच्चे कुछ बाहर निकल जाएंगे, है ना. तो वो व्यक्ति पहली क्लास सुन के हो सकता है तत्व सुन के इतना हताश हो जाए, इतना पसीना पसीना हो जाए, वो सोचेगा घर पे ही अच्छा था, ये कुछ ज़्यादा हो गया. So there has to be a seva component, because Srimad Bhagavatam says, right, so Susya Shraddhanasya, faith, how would it arise? Vasudeva Katarachi Syan Mahaseva Vipra Punyatita Nishevana. So unless the faith and the ruchi will not come unless you take into service component. So coming back from there, like tomorrow we'll have worship of Srimad Bhagavatam. That will be our starting part of our thing, because Bhagavatam is a Shastra avatar. So those kind of services will engage our different devotees. Anyways, coming back to the text number 5, मैं कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया? I was saying this verse and the follow-up discussion is important. We cannot or we should not artificially give up our actions. And this challenge arises sometimes in brahmachari life, where brahmacharis artificially wants to give up their duties. You give them action to be performed. They say नहीं हमें chanting करनी है extra, हमें hearing करनी है, हमें reading करनी है. That's okay, but that is not the process. That's not the process. And those of us who are working outside, we already have our own challenges. For you, for your survival, there is no option but to hear daily. There's no alternative. And if you're able to survive, we offer respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. That is what we can say. I don't know how it is possible. It's not possible under Shastra. Fine, this is a beautiful purport. The first example of this type of man is Arjuna. He was a Kshatriya and his occupational duty was to fight. Generally, kings fight to extend their kingdom, but he did it because to protect dharma. Next paragraph. Persons who work at their prescribed duties not for sense gratification but for gratification of the Supreme Lord are called Niyasanga. They are detached, freed from like this. Nyasta karmanaha indicates the results of the activities of given to the Supreme Person Godhead. Such persons appear to be acting on the platform of their respective duties, but such activities are not performed for personal sense gratification. Rather, they are performed for the Supreme Person. Such devotees are called Prashantaha, which means completely satisfied. Shuddha Chetasa means Krishna consciousness. This consciousness has become purified. In unpurified consciousness, one thinks of himself as the Lord of the universe. But in purified consciousness, one thinks himself the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Putting oneself in that position, eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord and working for Him perpetually, one actually becomes completely satisfied. This is not some artificial imposition, an idea, a conception which we have to imagine and force ourselves to act in that way. Prabhupada is saying very clearly, in contaminated stage, we consider ourselves Lord. But when we gradually become purified, what is the symptom of we becoming gradually purified? As you'll see, our service attitude or inclination will exponentially grow. However, a disclaimer here, some people could have this by default from their karmic account. They might have come from a very humble background, where from their childhood they had to do everything. And they may be very active in doing services. So that does not necessarily mean that's the only parameter there, but this is one of the parameters. Like this, the other parameters, how to see we are advancing Krishna consciousness. What are the other parameters? As our taste for material life is becoming slackened. So like this, there are different parameters at different contexts Prabhupada will mention. In this context, it has been mentioned that if he is becoming purified, then his ideology that I am the Lord, I am the Master, would eventually slacken. And he'll develop more of subsidized. Text number 6. Nivritti dharma nirata nirmama nirankarataha swadharmaptena satvena parishuddhena chaitasa. By executing, so this is nivritti karma, which, so this is not bhakti yet. Here, वो तो प्रभुपाद जी ने उसको भक्ति करके कर दिया पहले पिछले श्लोक में. This is nivritti. Pravritti and nivritti karma. Pravritti karma for yourself, karma and nivritti karma is for moksha. So these people are going to go by the path of sun planet. So there are two trajectories, there are two highways going to Brahmalok. One highway has a pit stop at moon planet. But ultimately वो pit stop नहीं है, वहीं पे stop हो जाता है. Further extension of highway is not there. And then another highway which takes you to the Brahmaloka is via the sun planet. Like that. So this is this people. By executing one's occupational activity detachment without a sense of proprietorship of false ego, one is posted in one's constituted position by dint of complete purification of consciousness. And this how dint of consciousness? They are performing with detachment. They are performing action with detachment. By executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God. Text number 7. Surya dvarena te yanti. How did they go? Surya dvarena. So the sun planet acts as a door to enter into the higher realms. Purusham vishvato mukam paravaresham prakritam asyutpatti antavavanam. Through the path of elimination, such liberated persons approach the complete personality of Godhead as a proprietor of material and spiritual world. Like that. Text number 8. Worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, expansion of the personality of Godhead, remain within this material world, universal form, until the end of 2 Prarad, when the Lord Brahma also dies. 2 Prarad means 50 years. That's the time scale here. Text number 9. After experiencing the inhabitable time of the 3 modes of material nature known as 2 Prarads, Lord Brahma closes the material universe, which is covered by layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, ego, etc., and goes back to Godhead. Not like goes back to Godhead. Let's take a look at text number 10. What happens? The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercise, control of the mind, reach the planet of Brahma. This is Yoga Rudha. Yoga Arudha and Yoga Rudha. These are advanced yogis, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. Therefore, when Brahma is liberated, goes to Sundar, who is a Sundar, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of Godhead. But Prabhupada writes in the purport, 3rd line. Because they are not directly devotees of the Lord, they cannot get liberation directly. It ain't going to happen like this. Right? So, point is, no one. So, now text number 11, Kapil Dev will say, no one can attain liberation without bhakti. So, Kapil Dev says, why not take bhakti only? Why waste time? Athatam sarva bhutanam hit padmeshu kartalayam shutanubhavam sharanam vrajbhavena bhamini. Therefore, my dear mother, very beautiful verse. Let's take a look at. Athatam sarva bhutanam. Tam refers to the Supreme Personality, Bhutanam Jivatma. Hit padmeshu kritalayam. Hit padmeshu, Padma means lotus, Hit means heart, and the lotus heart, kritalayam, is residing in the heart of every living entity. Shutanubhavam sharanam vraja bhavena bhamini. Therefore, my dear mother, by devotion service, take direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart. So that's how Kapil Dev is advising that there is no need for indirect approach. Take a direct approach. And text number 12 to 15, Kapil Dev gives a warning. However, if Lord Brahma or any other Devta have a Bheda Drishti, which means they think themselves to be independent from the Lord, they have to come back when the creation occurs again. My dear mother, someone who worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a specific self-interest, even Devtas such as Lord Brahma, great sages, Sanat Kumar, great Munis, have to come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of 3 modes of matter begins, Brahma, creator of this cosmic manifestation, is full of knowledge, the great sages. They are liberated by their non-fruitive activities, but they attain the first incarnation of the Purusha. They attain the first incarnation means they merge in Mahavishnu. Only that much they can go. But at the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms and position as they had previously if they differ in their interest. Prabhupada, Veda Darsha means Brahma sometimes saying that he is an independent of the Supreme Lord. Like that. Text number 16. Now, after talking about Nivritti Karma, 16 to 19 verses is about those who are attached. What happens to them? Attached minds. Persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive results. Now, following verses of Kapil Dev is going to criticize. What does it mean those are too addicted to this material world? Even if an option is given to them to quit it, they would not want to quit it. In other words, their attachment blinds them, wherein they cannot put faith that there is something beyond this material life. And as you further go into deeper, then you come to, in other words, these are nothing but atheists. Because ultimately you become atheist. Because you are attached. Bhoga Aishwarya, Prasaktanantaya Aparat, Cheta. Very difficult to put faith. And all their endeavor is to make our life as comfortable or as convenient in this world. That is okay, but the nature of this world is, in absence of Shuddha Prema, our heart is filled with exploitation. Even if you may create the world which is all comfortable and convenient for living entities to live, ultimately everyone is still going to get exploited. by a handful of people. That's the nature. Text number 17. And because his mind is attached, what happens? Rajasa kunta manasa kamatmano jitendriya pitna yajanti anudinam graheshu aviratashaya. Such persons impelled by the mode of passion are full of anxieties and always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses. They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, or national life. How many have seen people like this? When you move around, their whole goal of life, despite whatever they have got, they want to continue working and improving their economic position or condition. While they're trying to do that, we can see they're undergoing tremendous anxiety. Yet they're not learning a lesson. And they continue with that. Now, to understand they're going tremendous anxiety may not be so easy for us at the outset. Because when we meet people, they always smile. When you look at their Facebook profile, they always put the best of their photos. I mean, they look like their perfect picture, perfect life. घर जाके तो कभी कलेश होता ही नहीं है, हमेशा इतना खुश रहते हैं, extra smile like this. But when you look at from the point of view of adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika klesha, then you'll see they're surrounded by klesha. And if you happen to go and stay with them at their house, and the sweet sounds that are created in the house becomes an evidence how happy they are. So it needs little intelligence also to understand klesha. You cannot just say, अरे कहाँ klesha है? वो व्यक्ति इतना आयरन करे हुए कपड़े पहन के आता है और उसकी वाइफ इतना अच्छा उसको बर्गर बांध के देती है, लगता है टेस्ट में मैकडोनल्ड्स का है, हो सकता है रास्ते में पिक भी करा हो, पर हो सकता है उसकी पत्नी ने पैक करा हो, कितना अच्छा रिलेशनशिप है, कहाँ दुखी है वो. So it needs some intelligence to understand also. So like that Shastra says, they're always struggling. Text number 18. What happens next? Traivargikaste purusha vimukha harimedasa kathayang kathaneyo vikramasya madhudvishaha. Such persons are called Traivargika because they're interested in the three elevating processes. They worship the Supreme Personality Godhead who can give relief to the conditional. They are not interested in Supreme Personality's pastimes, which are worth hearing because of his transcendental prowess. So Prabhupada says, second paragraph, the Supreme Personality God is also here described as Hari Medaha, who can deliver one from the cycle of birth and death. Now, very important point to note. Materialistic persons are never interested in hearing about the marvelous pastimes of the Lord. They think they are fictions and stories, and the Supreme Godhead is also a man of material nature. They are not fit for advancing. Such materialistic persons are interested in newspaper stories, novels, and imaginary dramas. How many of you agree with this? Imagine we host a Bhagavat Saptah here, and there's going to be a Krishna Katha, and every participant will get Chappan Bhog Prasad. Please come and attend. What do you think? No registration fee, no sign-up fee, nothing. You can walk in, walk out anytime, full freedom. What is your understanding? तो जी अगर आप प्रवक्ता चलाओगे तो पब्लिक आ जाएगी. Even imagine you get pravakta, unless he is a YouTube sensation, is a different thing. You get a good pravakta. Then what do you think what's going to happen? Nice sitting arrangement, waterproof pandal. You got chairs so that their back doesn't pain. What do you think? People will come? Why? प्रसादम तो मिलेगा, प्रभु आएंगे प्रसादम के समय, लास्ट में आ जाएंगे. Why not for katha? Now, are they so busy working? What are they doing? They're sitting and watching news. If not on the TV, on the mobile. That's the point Prabhupada is saying. It's not easy to cultivate taste in Harikatha. Even for us. Because we have come from that background. So when I made that point, don't think it is for outsiders. Even for us, it's not so easy. And we can see that how often one book Prabhupada really wanted every devotee to read is Krishna book. Before going to bed, read Krishna book. Full katha, full nectar, and a little bit tattva is there. Prabhupada will not skip tattva. How often do we touch it? How often do we touch it? I mean, we have it. We have Prabhupada words. You may say, Prabhuji, आप अच्छे स्पीकर नहीं हो, ठीक है, हमारा अच्छे स्पीकर नहीं. Prabhupada तो थे. Prabhupada vachan is going to purify our heart. How many of us can really, if we have nothing to do, imagine we have nothing to do. How many will pick up Krishna book? No, what does it mean? Please understand, our Shraddha and Ruchi has not developed. You know, even for us. Now, you may say, Prabhuji, आप ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हो? आप प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज करो, हम आएंगे. You agree there's a social pressure? आदत भी बस सोशल प्रेशर है नहीं है. नहीं आओगे तो लोग पूछेंगे, अरे क्यों नहीं आए? Please look at the depth of your heart. I came because I was eager for it, or I came because there was a little social pressure. प्रभु ने देख ले तो पूछ ही लेंगे, क्या तुम दिखे नहीं पिछले क्लास में? And it's an embarrassment. But ultimately हमारी कम्युनिटी में रहना तो यही है. Devotional life, we have social pressure. And we are functioning under that social pressure. Agreed, yes or no? Yeah. So even if we have that, we will not be able to do it. It's not easy. It's not easy. Susrushaya Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahasevaya Vipura Punyatita Nishevanat. We cannot develop that unless we render seva. It is not that if I just go along with my life, the taste will develop. Those of us who have been around for years together, probably you had more taste in reading Krishna book in early days than today. And why you had taste that time? Not because you had taste in Krishna, because you're curious about what's there. The curiosity was giving you that impetus to read. If there was a taste, how about taste will go away? Taste will only increase. Now, because you know Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's stories, based on whatever at your level, now you find it to be repetitive. ठीक है, प्रवक्ता बेकार हो सकते हैं, but now you will find Krishna book repetitive. You'll find Prabhupada repetitive. You'll find Bhagavatam boring. Why? So there's only one thing. Susrushaya Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva. What is the process of developing ruchi and taste? Vasudeva Katharuchi. Syat Mahaseva Vipra. It's only by service we will develop that faith and taste. All right. This is all spontaneously going on. I just opened the book. So nothing is planned here. I slept very late last night. It was almost 2 o'clock. So I just woke up and opened the book and started reading. So anyways, what was I talking about? In other words, because it is just spontaneously going on, so I even don't have any idea of the flow right now. What was I speaking and where we ended?
With the industry people, even we have.
So that was a discussion, text number 19, right? Such persons are condemned. No, we're discussing 18th verse upwards. Materialistic person not interested in it. So I was explaining that point is not materialistic person. Even we struggle. We struggle. And why we struggle and what's the way of developing the taste? I was making that point there. All right. Okay. Then we understood, and yeah, Papa says, such materialistic person are interested in newspaper stories, novels, and imagined dramas. And let's go to the end of the paragraph. Right? But materialistic person engaged in advertising program material are not interested in such activities. Lord, they may be interested in the activities of great politicians. Election का क्या चल रहा है? और great rich man of this world, Tesla, क्या नाम है? Elon Musk. क्या चल रहा है उसका? But they're not interested in transcendent activities of Supreme Lord. Even devotees. क्रिकेट मैच का क्या चल रहा है हमारे केस में? हमारी बड़ी हैवी कंडीशनिंग है क्रिकेट मैच का क्या चल रहा है? And whatever areas of our interest could be, I don't know, maybe movies, I don't know, some film star, maybe if you love music, some musician and whatnot. So now you see. And elections have really, even the election process have infiltrated devotee community also. They also speak so much. वो हिंदुत्व का करके बहुत ज्यादा ही हो गया है, you know. Of course, there should be something balanced off. But again, I often say, कुछ करना है, बोलने से तुम्हारे से कुछ नहीं होने वाला. वो दिख कर आ जाओ, शांत रहो. वो नहीं होता. वोट वाले दिन छुट्टी मिलती है, सो के नहीं उठते. How many devotees go and vote, but they talk a lot also about it. So the interesting activities. So I mean, now we can just a little bit introspect ourselves. You know, this is now you go back, open your diary, if you maintain your diary, where you reflect for yourself. Now you begin to reflect. How much taste do I have in hearing about Krishna, and how much taste do I have in political news, news about what great people are doing in this world, how are they making money, and what money matters? Then we can understand where we are. And if you have to move from here to there, then we have got to follow the process. Text number 19. Nunam devena vihata yecha chutakata sudam hitva shroti asadgataha purishamiva vidbhujaha. Vidbhujaha. Stool eaters. Kapil says. Asadgataha. Gata means gati, asadgata, they remain in the material world. Such persons are condemned by the Supreme Lord of the Lord because they averse to the nectar of the activities of Supreme Ye cha achyuta katha shuddha, which can purify them. And such people are compared to stool eating hogs. They're giving up hearing and indulging in abominable activities of materialist person. Text number. Very interesting Bhagavat writes. Why Kapil Dev is comparing this materialistic people to hogs? Last 4 lines. Materialistic persons are considered condemned because they're interested in hellish activities and not in transcendental activity. The message of the Lord's activities is nectar, and besides the message and information in which we may be interested is actually hellish. Text number 20. Dakshinena patharyam nah pitralokam vajanti te prajam anupajayanti samsamanta kriyakra. Such materialistic persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitraloka by the southern course of the sun, but they again come back to this planet, take birth in their own families, beginning again the same 4-day activities from birth to the end of life. They're born again. Text number 21. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down by higher arrangements, again come back to this planet, just as any person raised to high position, sometimes all of a sudden falls. Text number 22. Let's make the last verse for today. 22 and 23 will make the last verse. We just kind of conclude the subject matter here. Tasmat sarva bhavena bhajasva paramishtinam tadgunashraya bhaktya bhajaniya padambujam tasmat, therefore. So always pay attention to the word whenever tasmat is brought in. I used to often speak about that in Bhagavad Gita. Tasmat, therefore. Tvam, you. Sarva bhavena, sarva bhava, with all your emotions. Bhajasva, kya karo? Bhaja karo, worship. Parameshtinam, who is Parameshtinam? The Supreme Personality Godhead. Tad guna ashraya, tad refers to the Supreme Lord. Guna ashraya, bhaktya, bhajaniya padambujam. Take shelter of the Supreme Personality Godhead with bhakti. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of the Supreme Personality Godhead, for whose lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love, for thus you can be situated in transcendental devotional service. Text number 23. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnayati Asuveragyam Jnanam Chayat Brahma Darshanam. Just like Bhagavad Gita have very rarely repeated verse, similarly. Chalo Bhagavad Gita was alag context tha, because there was only one speaker. Here we'll have different speakers. But nonetheless, there are a few verses which are repeated. This is one of the verse. This was there in first canto. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayota Janati Asvaram Jnanam Chayad Ahitukam. Jnanam Chayad Brahma Darshanam. Like that. Engagement in Krishna consciousness and application of devotional service unto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge and detachment as well as in self-realization. So what does it mean? So we may have whatever conditionings we may have. We may be troubled by all the temptations, distractions, We may have all the anxieties of financial stability and worries about family and whatnot. We can do nothing about it. And what we need to do is we need to live along with it, because it's not a matter of that overnight you can give it up. So therefore, I often say, it's because I often say, just to remind myself also, Matas Pashastu Kampeya, Shitoshna Sukadukada, Agama Paina Nityastam Titikshva Bharat. There is no sense of this particular instruction at that point of time in Bhagavad Gita. What is a flow? Arjuna says, Shishyasam Sadhiman Tvam Prapanna. What is I needed? I want to know Dharma Samudha Chetaha. My intelligence is bewildered. Please tell me what is my Dharma. Krishna says, Dehinosme Nitadehi Kamara Yavanam, which makes sense to help him remind the body was spiritual, because he's caught up in body, this thing. Then Krishna says, Matas Pashastu Kanteya Shitoshna Sukadakada Agama Paina Nityatam Titiksha Bharata. इसका कोई context नहीं है वहां पर. What is Krishna saying right after saying the Hinosmanyata 13 and this 14 verse? Matas Pashastu Kanteya Shitoshna Sukadaka. Arjuna, just like change of season happens after winter, summer, winter. Similarly, pain comes for some time and then happiness will come for some time. It all keeps changing. Learn to tolerate. This verse is to what context? Now, this is the first instruction. Behinasman Yatara is not an instruction. Behinasman is an insight. It is not an instruction. Behinasman Yatare Pavara Yavana Jaya Tata Dhyanta Pav Dhiya Tatana Moyati is an insight. When one knows this, will not get bewildered. But the first instruction of Bhagavad Gita is learn to tolerate. Matas Pashastu Kanteya Shitoshna Sukadaka Agava Payananta Titushva Bharata. Arjuna, tolerate. Why Krishna says tolerate? So just like Sahanisha Dharyat, Upadesha Dharyat, have patience. It's just not going to happen like this. It's a gradual process. And what you have to have patience? You have to have patience towards your own conditionings. And we need to learn to tolerate our own urges. The best way to deal with the mind is to tolerate mind whims. Because if we fail to tolerate the mind's whims, we'll be compelled and forced to fulfill it. There's no other alternative. You cannot think, I will give the antidote of Hare Krishna mantra. It will disappear. It never works like this. If your mind is agitated, your mind is giving you some thoughts of science verification, you pick up bead bag and start chanting. Has it happened for anyone? The thought have disappeared? Anyone here? In fact, your mind will get so agitated, you will be further aggravated. Because meditation, it brings a focus. And your mind is anyways attached to that idea. Rather than Krishna out of picture only. Whole focus will meditation not on the sense object. It will further aggravate. Then what we need to do? Therefore, to deal with the mind is tolerate. Well, that's a question. We'll come to it. Only solution is tolerate. Again, I kind of lost my chain of thought. What are we talking about? What is the last verse? So the point I was trying to make, just to end on a positive note. So we started with the subject matter of how, while performing our karmic activities, etc., we are conditioned, we cannot give karma and all those things. So do not artificially, let me put it this way, when you're talking about gradual development, do not artificially deprive yourself of sense gratification. Which means it's better for a sadhaka to have a regulated sense gratification. When you have a regulated sense gratification, your mind will remain at peace. To artificially do that, it can cause psychological problems. And it becomes very important for parents while they're dealing with kids. Do not impose things from your level of Krishna consciousness. I cannot or I do not eat ice cream because it is not made by devotee. So nobody in my family will eat. But please understand, the child is not that level. And when you do this imposition on the child, You're destroying whatever faith you may have because you're making you feel pathetic about this whole process. And he or she is going to blame Krishna for his suffering or her suffering in life. So when it is said as gradual, it has to be. Now for a child, you have to have his, at the child level, regulated sense gratification. And for that, you have to develop an amount of maturity. While you are giving a regulated sense gratification of the child, you don't get caught up with that sense gratification. Similarly, at your level, for those, of course, whatever condition we have grown up now, what I can do, how you can really do a sense gratification, which I can only request you never miss out yatras. How much ever excuses you're given. Because you tell me this thing, you had n reasons what not to go, but when you went for yatra, did you had a wonderful sense gratification? Yes or no? And those who are online, what do you think about it? Please tell me. If you went for science, can I have everyone switch on your camera because I'm going to talk to you all of you now. This is the concluding part. So you can have quickly raise your hands here and all that. If you have in case gone for yatra, despite you know, whatever reasons you may have, financial reason, personal reason, okay. But when you went for yatra, did you had a high class sense gratification? Yes or no? You have fantastic darshan. You like to see things, that sense gratification. I mean, I'm not talking all the yatras, at least what we have organized, you're taking care of prasadam. Accommodation is good. So don't deprive yourself. If you don't do it, your mind will force you, and then you will run here and there. Similarly, let's say there is a sadhu sangha, you know, Vaishnava sangha. Prabhupada have organized such a program. When you come for a program, तुम्हारा sense gratification guaranteed है. Does any program for devotee happen without prasadam and kirtan? And association is not that you come 5 o'clock, speaker starts, 6 o'clock speaker speaks, and there's a principle rule. Nobody speaks to anyone. जैसे आए हो शांति से निकल जाओ. इतना कोई बोरिंग होता है? You spend time with your friends. Our mind needs that. Our mind hankers for that. Emotional attachment, connection. We get to sit and eat prasadam. We get to dance in aarti. We need that. Do not deprive yourself. And the only reason we deprive is only because of tamoguna, more of ignorance. I am late. Weather is not good. If you do it, you can reflect deeply on this. When we have deprived ourselves of association of Krishna conscious sense gratification that Prabhupada is providing this, you ended up doing more sense gratification, rather sinful sense gratification. So please take care of these points. Don't deprive yourself of regulated sense gratification. Prabhupada said to his disciple, when he was walking barefoot and crying, Prabhupada said, go and get your sleeper. Prabhupada said, oh, wow, I can even cut my throat for you. Then Prabhupada turned to his dad, get a knife, I'll cut his throat now. Why are you talking this emotional, sentimental thing? When you already have enough austerity in this world, why are you unnecessarily taking austerity? So austerity करना है, एकादशी पे करो. Enjoy. I mean, imagine who before coming to Krishna consciousness every week will eat sweet. Those who are in center every day eat sweet. And खाने के बाद 40 साल को डायबिटीज बढ़ जाता है. डायबिटीज शुगर बढ़ जाता है, डायबिटीज हो जाता है. So this is how we can deal with it. Please make note of this point. My humble request: do not give excuses not to take devotee association. You think I can sit back at home, watch a lecture and all that? That will not give you rasa. That may titillate your senses. If it gives the rasa, then wonderful. If you're progressing, but largely people, it will not happen. Of course, unless you have a conflict within devotee community, it is a different situation. And it is in your interest and for your protection to resolve that conflict, to become part of the community again. It ain't going to work in favor of you. So these are my some quick random thoughts on the topic here. With that, I'll pause here. Anyone has any question, we'll continue this discussion remaining verses next time. And then next time we'll conclude this chapter, and then we'll have one more session to conclude the last chapter, with which the third canto completes. And then we'll think about the future of fourth canto. I might continue Friday morning. Anything, any thoughts, any questions here on the subject matter? Yes, Adar Shironi Prabhu.
You said about tolerating the wind from the mind.
Can they hear?
Tolerating.
इनका आवाज आ रहा है? हाँ.
Tolerating the wind from the mind. So where do we start? We have no idea. Just it came up. Can you explain?
So for dealing with the whims of mind, you can go back to 70th chapter, verse number 16. What is that? How does it begin? 17 by 16 निकालोगे. What is the first word? Austerity of mind. Mana prasada samithyam samsiddhir. No, sorry, samsiddhir. Mana prasada samyatvam. What is next time? मौनमात्मविनिग भाव संशुद्धिर इति एतत् तप मानसम उच्यते. So Madha Prasadam Samyatam. Go in the purport. Go for very beautiful point. Go up. The third line. To purify one's nature is to become Krishnakar. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more, is it being shown online? I can read it from mobile here. You can show. So the more we think of sense enjoyment, the more mind becomes dissatisfied. The present day, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. Therefore, there is no possibility of the mind becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories in the Puranas and Bhagavat. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. So the point is, Sat Chit Ananda. Chit means knowledge, which at the base level means our desire to know. We cannot negate this need, which means if you are not taking out time to study scriptures, that propensity has to be engaged. And that will be engaged in either Prajalpa, talking about devotees, knowing about devotees' personal life, or talking here and there. Or else it will go back to your office matters, or it will go back to political subject matter. Do you agree or not? If you see that. Therefore, when this course thing was going on again, Bhakti Vaibhav thing, I was telling our coordinator, I said, Varunpur, let's encourage people to sign up for the course. When they'll sign up for the course, and particularly when they pay a fees, the fees is not a tuition fee for a teacher. Please understand, it's not that because of your fees, the ISKCON Hinjawadi is going to run, or our preaching program is going to run, or with your fees, my life will be maintained. It's nothing of that sort. It's a 3 years or 4 years of Srimad Bhagavatam study, and it's going to be easy. It's going to be tough because you've got to be those who are able to run through with it, man, they've really, really fought against ignorance. They've really fought. It's not going to be easy to stay focused and to, every day take out time to read Bhagavatam. Now, if you have not signed up for the program, do you have any compulsion to read? If there is no shloka test, do you have any compulsion to memorize shloka? If there is no OBA to write, you will not read. If you have no closed book examination, you will not even hear attentively. But now when you pay fees, you know how it works? Now, let's say we put 2,000 rupees. 2 हफ्ते का भूल भी जाओ 2,000 रुपये दिए थे. Because the Tamagona will say, yeah, dealing with the pain of 2,000 is far simpler than the austerity of going through the program. Agreed or not? Yeah? But when you have at least some significant amount to pay, earlier I was not even agreeing to do module wise. I said one shot only. उसको हिट लगना चाहिए कि मैंने कुछ करा है. Now, there is no reason to pretend that we are detached from money. We are 100% attached to money. हम अपना शरीर काट के दे देंगे तब हमारी इतनी आसक्ति वहां नहीं होगी. जब हम पैसा कहीं दे देते हैं ना, हमारा सब आसक्ति वहां चला जाता है. Because the heart is in money. Now, when money is dedicated, how many of you agree? Everyone. Mind eventually say, यार पैसा दिया है, वो तो जाना चाहिए ना, वो तो वैल्यू उसका प्रोपोजिशन मिलना चाहिए. How many of you say yes or no? थोड़ा वैल्यू प्रोपोजिशन होना चाहिए. You will be inspired to fight against your mind. Otherwise, it won't function like that. So it's not that we do things blindly. In Brahmachari Ashram, when we started Bhakti Bhav batch, We had 120 student, 25 of us graduated, 120 plus student attending, and 25 was a graduated. वो भी लड़ते पड़ते you know, exam लिखा था. You know, I wrote my exam in December. Every day I was sitting and writing exam. मैंने कहा बस मैंने समय ले लिया, अभी मैं करूँगा बैठ के. So I'll read one day and then write exam like that. You know, it was a great struggle. It wasn't easy, but how do you fight with it? So when it comes to this mind thing, there has to be a higher force which pushes us to read scriptures. Most of you who are working out, and if in case, most, I'm saying some may have, there are many wonderful Vaishnavas who have great taste in reading, no doubt about it, but there are most of us population would not have taste. Is that correct? Taste, you know, where if there is nothing else to do, you'll pick up a book. I'm saying that way. Most of us don't have it because of conditioning, because reading का है नहीं culture. On top of it, अभी यार सुन तो लिया इतने सालों से कृष्णा इज लॉर्ड हो गया अपना, इतना कौन पढ़ेगा ये करके. So then you need a higher force to compel and push you to read, and for that I cannot not really emphasize the need for these kind of courses. We need to sign up. For example, we did Light of Bhagavat. We almost have more than 60 episodes in Light of Bhagavat. We spoke so many things. कहाँ है वो सारी जनता जो आई थी? Some are there, but where are others? We started this Bhagavat life. Reading thing was going on. Of course, every day we will give them a reading quota, so they will read. But after second canto, I said we have spoon-fed them enough for 2 cantos. Now nothing. Stop it. Where is the audience? Who is reading Bhagavatam now? Nobody. Very few. Somebody may be reading. So unless you have higher force, higher push, we cannot function. We got to accept the truth of life. And for that, we have to, deal with our own internal challenges. As I said, पैसे को लेके आसक्ति इतनी है, हम कहीं भी खर्चा कर लेंगे, but in bhakti matters, no. This is for your benefit, like that. It doesn't function like that otherwise. So these are some thoughts how you can deal with the subject matter of mind. Because it requires an intelligent planning to deal with it. And all of us have to do that. And so another thing, we have a greatest challenge, I would say, is not that you don't understand what are your challenges. The greatest challenge is not that you don't understand. The greatest challenge is you don't remember your challenges. Do you agree? You don't remember your challenges. Now we are sitting here, maybe discussing some challenges, so you are having that memory. But when you're in a routine day of life, routine course of life, you forget your challenges. And you again become victim of it.
Attached to our challenges.
But of course, you're attached to science object, therefore challenge is continuing. But even if you have had a very bad experience and you repented severely, I'm not going to do it, but you still did it. Why? Because you forgot. So therefore, everyone should have their personal diary. With the right. What are my challenges? And it's good once in a while to review those. So you're reminded. आज क्या है? कौन सी तारीख है? कौन सा सितंबर है? 28? 27 September. तो 20 September को I was facing such a struggle. Then you will remain, भैया मैं कोई शुद्ध भक्त नहीं बना हूं अभी, क्योंकि एक दिन हमारा स्ट्रगल नहीं होता ना, हमें लगता है बहुत बढ़िया कर रहे हैं भक्ति में. बड़ा ये अजीब ही डायकोटमी है यार, ये जीवन की करते हैं. The moment you are corrected and chastised, you forget immediately what all the devotee have done for us. Therefore, it's very important to write gratitude in your diary and open the diary page. 15 September ko, I wrote a gratitude journal and expressed, because on that day I remember how much this devotee extended herself for me. And now today, when your mind is angry because you got corrected and chastised, you will not remember anything good that devotee have done to you. Yes or no? Impossible at your condition state, Baba. But what do? Then you go back and flip through the pages, and then you read and you remind yourself. Then your mind will say, यार इतना भी बुरा नहीं है वो, उसने मेरे जीवन में अच्छा योगदान दिया है. Then you will get pacified. And this effort we all got to make. Without this effort of having this personal accountability, where we on a regular basis, if not daily, you can do alternate day, on a weekly basis, something you have to begin to say. And that should have two major areas. One is gratitude and second confession. One is gratitude, second is confession. Confession about क्या चल रहा है मेरे साथ. And when you do confession, immediately you will have prayer followed by, my dear Lord, my dear special master, give me strength. Without your mercy, I cannot. And when you come in the association devotees, you will humbly sit, knowing that yeah, my heart is filled with so many challenges. What's the point of looking at that Vaishnava, saying that this Vaishnava is doing that wrong, that Vaishnava is doing that wrong? Why need to put unnecessary questions to so many people? Just like one student raised a question in Mind Management Forum yesterday. What was the question? So we have registered now. So the next program is only for registered members. Something like that. That's the question. I felt a little sad about this conversation, but I thought maybe because the question had been asked, I should reply. So with all my humility, I could say. So I replied. I say, as a student, it is important to pay attention to their needs and let the management do the organization. So we'll ensure and we'll request our organizer to ensure all the facility that a student need, registered member need for their learning is provided. And if you have any challenge in issue, then you should contact our organizer. As long as your needs are taken care, why you have to poke finger in others' matters? And such people therefore cannot make improvement because they never pay attention to their challenges. उनको पता ही नहीं अपने में क्या बदलाव लाना है, क्योंकि वो दुनिया भर को बताने लगे तुम बदलो तुम बदलो तुम बदलो. अब तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे छोड़, ऑर्गेनाइजर पे छोड़, उसको कैसे प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज करना है वो करेगा ना यार, ये करके. So this is how we kind of function. So anyways, Hare Krishna, we should pause here. Anything else? All right, Jagadu Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for joining and tolerating. I went overboard. Kindly